The rain poured relentlessly that evening, a silver curtain that blurred the neon lights of the city and filled the streets with rippling reflections. The small corner diner, Sonny's Eatery, was one of the few warm places left open that night. Inside, the smell of coffee mingled with frying oil, and the dull hum of a jukebox played a forgotten tune. Behind the counter, Lily wiped down the same spot for the third time, trying to hide how utterly exhausted she felt. At 24, she had already seen more hardship than most people twice her age. Her mother's health had declined after an accident the previous year, and every hospital bill seemed to add another invisible weight to Lily's shoulders. Her paycheck barely covered rent, but she never let her weariness show. Every smile she offered a customer was genuine, every plate she served neatly arranged. She believed that kindness, even in small doses, could change a person's day. Her manager, Mr. Blake, didn't share that philosophy. He was a man who ran the diner like a drill sergeant: rules, schedules, and efficiency. He believed compassion was a weakness that wasted time and cost money. He often told Lily, "You're too soft for this world, Carter. Customers don't pay for pity, they pay for service." She would just nod, biting back the urge to say that maybe the world needed more softness, not less. The storm outside intensified. The glass doors rattled under the wind's push, and thunder rolled like a warning. The handful of customers left inside kept glancing nervously at the downpour, sipping their coffee, hoping it would stop before closing time. Then, the door burst open with a gust of cold air and rain. Everyone turned. A frail old man stumbled in, soaked from head to toe. His clothes were dripping, his shoes squelched with each step, and his thin gray hair was plastered to his forehead. He clutched an old hat, trembling from the cold. The customers frowned or turned back to their meals. No one wanted to be bothered. Lily's heart clenched at the sight. Without hesitation, she rushed from behind the counter. "Sir, please, come sit down," she said, guiding him gently to an empty booth. The man looked embarrassed. I don't want to cause trouble," he stammered, his voice shaky and frail. "You're not," she replied, offering a warm smile. "You just need to warm up." She ran to the kitchen and poured him a bowl of hot chicken soup, the thick steam curling upward. Then she grabbed a cup of tea, added honey, and set it down before him. She even brought a towel from the back, wrapping it over his shoulders. The old man's eyes glistened. "You're too kind, miss. I didn't even order." "It's on me," Lily said quickly. "Just eat, okay? You'll catch a cold if you don't." Before the man could thank her, a sharp, angry voice cut through the air. "Lily." The sound made her flinch. Mr. Blake stood by the counter, his face red with fury, his eyes narrowing at the free meal she had just served. "What do you think you're doing?" he snapped, marching toward her. "That food isn't free." He looked like he was freezing, Lily said, her voice trembling but steady. "I was just trying to help. I'll pay for the soup myself." "That's not the point," Blake barked. "We don't run a charity. You're an employee, not a saint." The old man tried to intervene. "Please, don't be angry with her. I'll leave right now," but Blake cut him off. "No, sir, you stay put. It's her who's leaving." He turned back to Lily, eyes cold as stone. "You're fired, effective immediately." The diner fell silent. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Even the rain outside seemed to pause for a moment. Lily's throat tightened. "You're firing me, for being kind." Blake folded his arms. "For breaking rules. Now get your things." Lily didn't argue. Her chest ached, but she managed a small smile toward the old man. "Take care of yourself, sir." He looked at her, eyes filled with guilt. "I'm so sorry, dear." She shook her head. "Don't be. I'd do it again." As she stepped outside, the rain welcomed her back, drenching her uniform and washing away the last bit of warmth she had left from the diner. Yet, beneath the cold and heartbreak, there was a quiet certainty in her heart: she had done the right thing. Little did she know that one act of kindness would change her life forever. The next morning, the sky was still gray, as if even the sun refused to rise after the storm. Lily sat at her small kitchen table, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of coffee that had gone cold long ago. She hadn't slept much. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the look on Mr. Blake's face, the way he had shouted at her as if compassion were a crime. Across the room, her mother sat in an armchair by the window, a blanket over her frail legs. The soft hiss of the oxygen machine filled the silence. "You look pale, sweetheart," her mother said gently. "Long night." Lily forced a smile. "Just tired, Mom. That's all. She didn't have the heart to tell her the truth, that she'd lost her job. Her mother had enough to worry about, and Lily wasn't going to add more weight to her shoulders. She told herself she'd find another job soon. She always did, but deep down, the uncertainty gnawed at her. Her phone remained silent, except for the occasional buzz of spam messages and payment reminders. She checked her email, hoping for a job alert, but there was nothing. The world outside was moving on, and she felt left behind. Around noon, a knock echoed through the apartment. It startled her. Hardly anyone visited them. She wiped her hands and opened the door. Standing there was a tall man in a perfectly pressed suit, holding an umbrella. His shoes shone even in the dim hallway. He smiled politely. "Miss Lily Carter?" "Yes," she asked, puzzled. He extended a small envelope toward her. "I'm here on behalf of Mr. Jonathan Hale. He requests your presence for lunch today, at 1 o'clock, at the Royal Diner." She blinked in confusion. I think you have the wrong person. I don't know anyone named Jonathan Hale." The man's expression didn't change. "You do, actually. You helped him last night. The elderly gentleman at the diner." Lily froze. Her mind flashed back to the drenched old man shivering in the booth, the one she'd served soup and tea to. "That was Mr. Hale," she whispered. He nodded once. "Yes, ma'am, he specifically asked for you." Still confused, Lily accepted the envelope. Inside was a neatly printed note on elegant paper. "Dear Miss Carter, your kindness last night did not go unnoticed. I would be honored if you would join me for lunch today. Transportation will be provided." Jonathan Hale. Her heart pounded. Who was this man really? And why would someone like him, someone who clearly had money and influence, want to see her? Her mother, curious, called from the living room. "Who was that, honey?" Just someone inviting me for lunch," Lily replied, uncertain how to explain. Her mother smiled faintly. "Well, maybe it's good news. Go, see what it's about." After a quick change of clothes, a simple dress and her only clean coat, Lily found a sleek black car waiting outside. The driver opened the door for her without a word. She felt awkward but climbed in, staring out the window as the car wound through streets she rarely visited. When they arrived, her jaw nearly dropped. The Royal Diner wasn't just any place. It was a high-end restaurant known for its luxury and exclusivity. The floor was polished marble, chandeliers sparkled overhead, and the smell of freshly baked bread filled the air. At a corner table near the window sat the same man, but this time, he looked nothing like the fragile old man from last night. His posture was straight, his gray hair neatly combed, his suit perfectly tailored. The moment he saw her, he smiled warmly and stood. "Miss Carter," he said, extending his hand. "I'm glad you came." She hesitated, shaking his hand carefully. You're really Mr. Hale." He nodded. "Yes, though last night I wasn't exactly dressed to impress. Please, sit." Lily sat across from him, still unsure what was happening. "I don't understand," she admitted. "Why did you come to the diner like that?" He chuckled softly. "Because sometimes, Miss Carter, I like to see the world from a different view, to see how people treat those who seem to have nothing. I recently acquired several local businesses, including that diner where you worked. I was there last night to observe." Her eyes widened in disbelief. You own that place?" "I do," he said simply. "And what I saw broke my heart, except for you." She felt her throat tighten. "But I lost my job because of that." He leaned forward, his eyes kind. "Yes, and that's exactly why I asked to see you. People like you are rare, Miss Carter. You showed humanity when no one else did. You treated me as a person, not as a problem." Lily sat silently, unsure whether to cry or laugh. The man she had fed soup to, the one she thought was homeless, was actually a wealthy businessman. And he was thanking her. Then he smiled faintly and said, "You have no idea how much your kindness meant. And I have a proposition for you." At that moment, Lily didn't know that her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. Lily sat frozen, her mind spinning faster than she could process. Just last night, she'd walked home in the rain, fired, humiliated, and hopeless. Now she was sitting in an upscale restaurant across from the man she'd thought was a penniless stranger, a man who turned out to be a powerful business owner. The surrealness of it all made her grip her water glass tightly, afraid that if she let go, the moment would vanish like a dream. Jonathan Hale smiled, watching her with a calm, steady gaze that carried both warmth and wisdom. "You probably have many questions," he said, folding his hands on the table. And you deserve answers. Lily nodded slowly. Why me? Why invite me here? Because, Jonathan began, his tone thoughtful, what I saw last night told me more about character than any resume or interview ever could. You didn't know who I was. You didn't stand to gain anything from helping me. But you did it anyway, out of pure kindness. He paused, studying her reaction. I created the Hale Hospitality Group with one rule: people first. But lately, I've realized that not everyone shares that belief. I visited that diner undercover because I wanted to see the culture firsthand, how customers were treated, how my employees handled real moments. What I found was disheartening. Your manager was rude, impatient, and completely lacked compassion. And yet there you were, doing the right thing, even when it cost you your job. Lily swallowed hard, emotion rising in her chest. I just couldn't let him sit there, soaking wet and hungry. He reminded me of my father, before he passed. I didn't think anyone should feel invisible like that. Jonathan nodded, a flicker of admiration in his eyes. That right there, that's the quality I value most in a leader. Kindness isn't weakness, Miss Carter. It's strength, the kind too many people underestimate. He reached into his leather briefcase and pulled out a folder. Inside was a letter and an official contract. I'd like you to return to the diner, he said. Lily frowned in confusion. Return? I thought I was fired. You were, Jonathan said with a faint smile, but that's been corrected. Mr. Blake has been terminated, effective this morning. Her eyes widened. Wait, you fired him? I did, Jonathan confirmed firmly. A man who punishes compassion has no place in a business that serves people. As for you, I want you to come back, not as a waitress, but as the new manager of Sunny's Eatery. For a moment, Lily forgot how to breathe. Manager, she whispered. But, I've never managed anyone before. I don't have a degree or training. I wouldn't even know where to start. Jonathan's smile softened. You'll learn, and I'll help you. What you already have can't be taught: integrity, empathy, and heart. The rest is just technique. Tears welled in her eyes as she shook her head in disbelief. I don't know what to say. Say yes, he said gently. Take the chance. You've earned it. She hesitated only a moment before nodding. Yes, of course, yes. Later that afternoon, Lily walked back into the same diner where she had been fired less than 24 hours earlier. But this time, she wasn't wearing her old waitress apron. She wore a crisp new uniform with her name stitched neatly beside the title manager. Her heart raced as she stepped through the door. The staff looked up in shock. Some whispered her name, others just stared. Mr. Blake stood by the counter, his face pale as he noticed Jonathan Hale following behind her. Jonathan's voice carried through the diner. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce your new manager, Miss Lily Carter. Effective immediately, she'll be running this location. The room fell silent. Lily could feel every eye on her. Mr. Blake's jaw clenched, his voice low and bitter. This must be some kind of joke. It's not, Jonathan replied coolly. You've been dismissed. We value kindness here, not cruelty. Lily turned to Mr. Blake, her tone calm but firm. I don't hold anything against you. But from now on, this place will be different. No one should ever be punished for showing compassion. Jonathan nodded approvingly. That's exactly the kind of leadership we need. The staff began clapping quietly, some even smiling with relief. For the first time in months, the diner didn't feel cold and mechanical. It felt alive, like a place that might finally live up to its name again. As Lily stood there, her heart full and trembling, she realized something extraordinary. She hadn't just gotten her job back. She had been given a chance to rebuild something broken, not just in the diner, but within herself. And for the first time in a long time, she truly believed that kindness could change everything. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of change, the kind of transformation that could only be fueled by heart and determination. When Lily first stepped into her new role as manager, she felt nervous, terrified, even. She didn't know how to run a business, how to manage people, or how to balance numbers in a ledger. But what she did know was how to treat people right, and that became her guiding light. On her first day, she gathered the staff in a small meeting before opening hours. The air was heavy with curiosity and skepticism. Some of the employees had been there for years under Mr. Blake's strict rules, others were new and uncertain what to expect. Lily looked around the room and smiled gently. I know what some of you are thinking, she began. You're wondering what a waitress is doing standing here as manager. The truth is, I don't have all the answers. But I do have one promise. This diner is going to be different. It's going to be a place where kindness is the rule, not the exception. A few skeptical faces softened. The cook, an older man named Frank, crossed his arms but nodded. You mean we're allowed to give a free meal once in a while? Lily smiled. Exactly. If someone's in need, we help them. Because at the end of the day, food isn't just about business, it's about people. That was the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Lily worked harder than ever. She cleaned the storage room herself, repainted the walls, replaced flickering lights, and even added flower pots by the entrance. She wanted the diner to feel like home again. Slowly, the change began to show. The staff started smiling more, laughing between shifts. The regulars noticed too. They lingered longer, tipping a little extra, chatting with the servers instead of rushing out the door. One day, a young mother came in with her 2 children, both shivering and soaked from the rain. Lily brought them warm soup and said quietly, "Don't worry about the bill." The woman's eyes filled with tears. Word of Lily's kindness spread quickly, and soon, the diner had a new kind of energy, one that couldn't be bought with money. Then came her most heartfelt idea. She set up a small chalkboard near the register with the words, "Pay it forward board," written across the top. Customers could buy an extra meal or drink, write it on a sticky note, and post it for someone in need to use later. At first, there were just a few notes, 1 coffee, 1 burger, 1 breakfast special. But within a week, the board was overflowing. People started coming in not just to eat, but to give. Local newspapers caught wind of the story. "Kindness Reborn at Sunny's Eatery," one headline read. Reporters came to interview Lily, and customers lined up outside just to see the diner that had become a symbol of hope in the city. One evening, as the golden sunset painted the diner windows in warm hues, Lily stood behind the counter, wiping her hands on a towel. The door opened, and Jonathan Hale walked in, his familiar calm presence filling the room. He looked around, smiling. "You've done wonders with this place," he said, his tone filled with quiet pride. "It feels alive again." Lily laughed softly. "It wasn't just me, everyone helped. Turns out, when you give people a reason to care, they rise to it." Jonathan nodded. "That's the mark of true leadership." He paused, his gaze thoughtful. "You know, I've been thinking about expanding the Pay It Forward program to all our diners across the city. Would you be willing to oversee it?" Lily blinked in surprise. "Me? Who else?" he replied with a smile. "It was your idea. You've turned one struggling diner into a beacon of kindness. Imagine what could happen if others followed your lead." Emotion welled in her chest. I'd love to." As Jonathan left, Lily stood by the window, watching the world outside. The rain had begun again, falling softly against the glass. But this time, it didn't feel like a storm. It felt cleansing, like a reminder of how far she'd come. Once, she had been just a waitress who lost her job for helping a stranger. Now, she was a leader changing lives with the very thing she had been punished for, her kindness. She looked around at the smiling faces, the lively chatter, the warm glow of the diner she had rebuilt from the ashes. And for the first time in her life, she didn't just feel proud. She felt fulfilled, because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can open the biggest doors, and Lily had walked right through hers.